Okay, we're trying this one more time. Third time's a charm. Sorry, I took your squeaky toy. I don't know why this happens. Hi, Mai. Oh, here we go. Good boy. It's working.
Oh my gosh, yes,
Yay!
yes, you made that happen.
Yay! Thank
I
you for
believe
being
in you.
patient. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem, not a problem. Technology is not perfect, but yeah, I think we're doing all right. I think we're
Yeah,
doing all
we're
right.
doing pretty good. Third time's a charm. How are you?
Absolutely. My gosh, how
Let
am I? Well, first of all, I'm ready to solve racism with you. Let's
Okay,
do it.
all right.
Let's do it. And I think if anything, yeah, I'm not a morning person, so this is still kind of early,
Oh my,
for me.
me too. Wait, where are you?
Really? I'm in LA. Yeah, I'm in Inglewood.
LA. Okay, I'm in
Yeah.
LA too. I have not been sleeping well though, so like I've kind of forced myself to get up and then I'll just take like a 2 hour nap in the middle of the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, again. Naps are not just for old people, apparently. It's a
Oh,
beautiful thing.
it's a great thing. I would not get by without my naps.
Totally,
But
totally.
thank you for coming on here.
Of course.
I'm happy to have a fellow poet on here. And I really love the way that you use your social media to talk about the important things. And I think you're really well spoken. And I really wanted to
Hmm.
obviously have you on here for Juneteenth. I believe it's referred to as. So why don't are you able to give us a little history lesson as to what Juneteenth is for people who aren't sure?
Yes. I'll give a really simple breakdown because again, I let people know I'm not a scholar. I'm not in the sense of like the word just an all-knowing individual about all things at all times.
Yeah.
So my basic remembrance and understanding of it is that after the Emancipation Proclamation happened, that Abraham Lincoln gave out to free the slaves. And by the way, it was really, again, it was crazy to have this idea of Abraham Lincoln being this great person that freed people, and then to find out that he also still didn't really believe in equality, and he still didn't believe in black people being equal to white people. That
Yeah.
was like mind blowing into its own. And then 2 years later, after the Emancipation Proclamation happened, it didn't even reach Texas and some of the southern states until I think it was some guy from like I forgot what he was like a general, I think. He was a general that noticed that there were still slaves working on his plantation, and he was like, I need to announce this. I don't think they know. I don't think they know, right?
Right, right.
And so the thing was all the way over there to actually give this information 2 years later that you're free, that you don't have to work for free anymore, that you don't have to have your family abused and torn apart anymore. My gosh, like some people even reacted so in such different ways because one I think it was pretty amazing to know that some people just immediately left. They were like, I'm out of here, I'm out. They were just like, we're gone, right? Some people, they were so bewildered. Some slaves didn't know what their best course of action was,
Right.
and they actually worked it out with their slave owner to continue working on the plantation that they were just working on, which again is like traumatizing in its own right. To think you're
Yeah.
free, but then you still have to work and make a living for yourself now. And then on top of that, I think I remember also reading that some of the slaves that when they did leave for their freedom, they got murdered. They just got killed, and that was really sobering to find out. Um, and I think if anything, the celebration part that comes into this is when uh is when you realize that in terms of emancipation and this kind of the kind of July 4th Independence Day that we all know and love,
Yeah.
that wasn't really an Independence Day for Black people. You know
Right.
what I mean? And
Right.
so to really separate those two was super profound for me when I first found out, because I didn't know about Juneteenth ever since I was little. Like that was something I found out, I think in college, maybe. I think I might have. Gosh, when did I hear about Juneteenth? Um, yeah, I want to say it was either sometime around college. And my brother, he took Pan African Studies classes, And so we would talk deep every now and again. We both have been to Africa. We both like have a profound love of the African people. And so to get to a place where like I learn about that
So
was
late.
really, again, it was shocking for myself. What's up?
I said, yeah, learning about it so late in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It almost felt like it was another Juneteenth on my brain. I was like, why? How come no one told me this before? Right? That kind of feeling.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think people are just now hearing about what it is. I feel like I had known about it, but I didn't know what it was. I was never
Right.
told what it was. And I'm glad that we now are recognizing it and people are taking off of work and that it's something that's a celebratory day.
Wait, people got off of work for this? Wait, who got off of work? Who do you know? What? What?
Some people got off of work for today. Yeah.
That warms the cockles of my heart. That
Well,
is so
because
good.
people are saying like this is a day that should be celebrated, and if they're not gonna, if our government, whomever, is gonna not recognize it as a national holiday, we still can. And so some
Yeah,
companies have definitely taken today off of work, which I think is really beautiful. And it's like
yeah. Yes.
progress, right? Progress.
Yes. It's beyond beautiful, and it's bittersweet because it's like one of those things that are long overdue, you know?
Yeah.
But then I'm okay, but it's happening. Oh, it's happening, so that's good. That's good. You know, we try to keep that emotion in check sometimes. And I think also one more thing about Juneteenth was there's also still controversy about why it took so long to reach people. So
Yeah.
some people have said that someone shot the messenger that was going around telling people. All right. Um, and then another person, there was another scholar that said that it was also a purposeful delay to try to get one more last cotton harvest. Right. That was another reason. Um, and I think, I mean, honestly, here's the thing with controversy like that, all the theories are pretty jacked up. All the theories are pretty, whatever theory you have, it's like 2 years to reach a whole country.
Yeah.
That's a lot, you know? So either way, I did want to start off though, before diving into this beautiful topic for sure with you, just to like share one or two things personal, just like to get a little
Please.
friendly with you. Is that cool?
Yeah. Would love.
Um, so like what yeah, what's been like one highlight of your week that doesn't involve race, that doesn't involve anything with race?
Oh man. Whoa. That's a, I'm like, whoa, haven't really thought about that for a minute.
You ask the tough questions, you know? That's what I do.
Well, so I'm in the middle of furnishing a house. I bought a house. So,
Great. My
uh,
gosh.
yeah, so
Yeah, that's big.
I'm in an Airbnb right now before I move in, but kind of like I'm a homeowner now. So it's
Oh my, oh, you're growing up so
like
fast.
I'm
Oh.
growing up. um, yeah, so that's been really wonderful. How about you? What's some good things happening in your life?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this actually just happened recently. I knew I could easily bring it up right now because it's been on my heart for a while, like ever since it happened, like two nights ago. Whew, I'm cleaning out like an area of bins in the backyard of my parents' home, like just all these old bins that we'd never go through.
Yeah.
And then I was moving something, and then like I pulled out like an old cardboard paper that was on the floor, and then I saw this thing go like this. It was just, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? And I put something over it to trap it. I went to my parents. I was like, you guys, I don't know what I just found, but I'm freaking out. It could be a large rat. It could, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It might be wounded. I don't know. I care about animals, so I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna do some recon. I'm gonna do
Okay.
some recon. And then I went back to it, and it either sounded like a mice squeal or it sounded like a cat's meow. And I could not tell the difference for some reason, right? So then I did see a cat in the distance nearby. And then I was like, oh, all right, so I'm gonna feed this. Maybe it's a mouse. I'm gonna give it to the cat, and just like let the cat do its nature's thing, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then as I'm bringing it over, as I'm like smoothing the box over that I trapped it in, I start hearing it more clearly, and it is, it's a kitten. It's a
Yeah.
baby newborn kitten. And then I'm feeling so crappy and weird now. I'm like, wait, oh my God, man, what? I was about to feed a cat to a cat. I was like, what am I doing? What's happening right now? So I immediately just took care of them and made sure they were sheltered up. I was like, I was hoping I didn't hurt them or anything. Gosh, they had like some dirt on them and stuff like that. Oh, and then it was really late too, so I kind of just left them. I've read up on what to do if you find a newborn baby kitten, all that stuff. I
Yeah.
called a friend of mine that loves animals. I was like, tell me what to do. I just need to know what to do. I don't know what's happening.
That's
And
so
she gave me the
cute.
best advice. It was really nice. And I just left them out there for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And the mom came and just scooped them away, took them to like safety, started taking care of them. And I was freaking out that whole night. Like every hour that I was waiting for the mom to come back, I was just freaking out. So I'm not a baby kitten killer, thankfully, and
Right.
that's a pretty big highlight. I think that's my favorite
That's
highlight of
so
everything.
sweet though. That's so sweet. It's very humbling to connect with nature in that way and just
Yeah,
like a non-domestic cat. Yes, that's a
right.
nice experience.
Right?
Glad you
Gosh,
get
and
to
to
be a
think about
cat.
them having a baby out there. Oh, go ahead.
Say that again. What'd you say?
No, what'd you say? What'd you say though?
I
What would
said
you
you
say?
got to be a cat dad for like a second.
Yeah, it could have been longer. She
And then,
said if the mama didn't come back, that I would have to like start bottle feeding it. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait a
oh,
minute. I don't have the resources for this. I'm not prepared to be a father. I don't I mean, what am I it
you
was
can
really
sign up for
man.
this. Right. Nice. Well, I'm glad it was a good experience for you.
Yes, me too. Yeah, that was great. Okay, so I'm glad I just wanted to establish
Sure.
like something non-racial. It
No,
helps,
I
you know?
appreciate that. I
Of
appreciate it.
course, of course. We got to take these breaks when we can to really just reconnect as human beings, you know? So that's big for me. And you said, yeah, I could start it out basically the conversation and all that, right? Like
Say,
we can just go
yeah,
anywhere.
just go for it.
All
Whatever you
right.
want to say.
Mm.
Take some
So
water.
let's see. Oh yeah. Oh, I've made sure to stay hydrated. This I can talk, but I can listen just as well as I can talk, which is a great balance. I'd say okay. I do want to do a pop quiz for people. Like that's my biggest thing. I think Um, and especially with the term like Black Lives Matter and the kind of like progress that movement has made right now, I realize the number I'm not even gonna call them arguments. Some of them thankfully weren't arguments, but I'd say there are a number of people and friends that if you ask them who started Black Lives Matter, right? Some people don't know,
Mhm.
but they're arguing to a fault about all lives matter or Black Lives Matter, right? And
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see the kind of lack of information, the lack of resources that people are even using that are just freely available, right? Freely available. And so my kind of like purpose I found out for myself, both as an artist and as just like a humanitarian who just cares about people,
Yeah.
I found out like my niche is kind of like Blade, Blade the vampire superhero guy. No? Oh, Lily, we're gonna bond so much today.
Okay.
So much.
You can
And I
teach.
don't wear these. Yeah, happily, happily. I don't wear these glasses for no reason. I'm a official nerd, you guys. I enjoy my nerdom. Took me a while to embrace it, but it felt right when
I
I did.
love
So Blade is a half vampire, half human being, superhero. He's a good guy. And he calls himself. He's also called a daywalker, which means he can be in the daylight, as well as be in the nighttime as a vampire, right? And I feel like yeah, I felt like I wanted to walk both worlds and make sure that people really understand what's going on. So I really don't insult people if they disagree with me. I don't. I refrain from name calling, all that kind of stuff. I've noticed how much that really just wedges that divide even further. And I think when we really take this matter at its absolute seriousness and its absolute sincerity, um, we're talking about ideas that literally kill people or save people, you
it.
know? So I've gotten to that point with I think I started thinking this way after Tamir Rice was killed. And for those of you that don't know, Tamir Rice was a young child. I think he was around, might have been 12, I think he was, that was playing with a toy gun in a park. And cops got a report that someone was brandishing a weapon at a park. And then they just pulled up, I think it was less than 100 feet away, and they shot this kid in a park. Black kid, of course. And it was so quick, right? That when you really look at how they handle situations with other people that have guns and they know that they have a gun, usually they stop at a distance, they talk and negotiate, they point
Right.
guns for sure, they say, hey, please put down the gun, is everything okay? And you watch people like do this on YouTube, it's captured on YouTube,
Yep.
where you're talking to so many people about to de-escalate and not just drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. But with this child in a park alone, right? And the parents, I think, were like, it was a small park where you could see your kid in that area. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it was that moment when I saw the importance of talking about this with patience and love and understanding, because I could be talking to someone on the other side of this argument that might support a law, that might support, hurting someone that's of another color, that might create more stereotypes about me and how I make them feel if I was yelling and making an argument with them, right? So I took a step back and really looked at the whole situation, and I think that was, yeah, I feel like that was the best place to really start, because of course the anger is justified.
Yeah.
Of course, the feeling of thinking that all cops are bad, even that thought, even that feeling, even though we know it's not true, not all cops are bad, right?
Right.
Even that feeling though is really true for a lot of people, and I can't blame them. Like I felt that same feeling many times before.
100%.
And to get to a place where, and for those of you at home, and for you as well, I saw a couple conversations you were having about empathizing with the black person. I don't know what it's like to be a black person. You don't. My whole take on that is you don't need to, if you just replace yourself with the black person. If you can just do the empathy work to just pretend that was your sister, that would be your mom, right? It's like this concept of race sometimes is so big for people
Yeah.
that it's actually really small.
Yeah.
It's
It's just
really a
another
small thing.
human being.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And to think in the more human way, to approach it in the human way, has been more of my, I think, more of my more like successful, like slow kind of conversation with people that are just trying to wrap their idea around this thing. Because they know the phrase "all lives matter" mean they know that's important. We know that, and it's something that I know that when you really look back at the roots of the movement, and and by the way, do you know the founders, or no? This is my pop quiz. Don't be afraid to not know. By the way, I think
I
you already
know it.
know.
I know. I believe it's a woman, and I don't know her name.
Whoa, Lily!
Am I right? Kind of.
So you're half right, you're half wrong, because
Okay.
it's actually three women.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And here's the thing: for everyone at home, look it up. I want you to type up blacklivesmatter.com. Like, just look it up. Just
Mhm.
look it up right now. And I feel like just getting in the practice of looking that up. Even if you had your computer right now, I would encourage you to do it. And just to get into that cycle of like, oh, I don't know something, I
Yep.
can find out. But
Yep.
then on top of finding out, you also want to compare notes and look at more than three resources. I always look at more than three resources of anything I find out about, and I make sure they're not Fox or they're not NBC. Just to be fair to
Yep.
everybody, right? Because news right now is so skewed and so, like, we know how corrupt news has been and the media has been in so many ways, and when they have these like beautiful truth telling moments, we almost get shocked. We're like, wait, what? That sounded like the whole truth. Wait a minute,
Yep.
hold on, media, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's why that stings a little bit when you hear fake news, and part of it that's true, and you're like, oh, right, but not all of it's fake news, right. So we can get into that too, but any questions or comments so far, even on what I've talked about yet?
No,
Because
I
we're
mean,
gonna go deep.
say that again.
We're gonna go deep. We're gonna get
I
deep.
would love to go deep. I would love to just hear. I mean, I feel like these lives have, I'm trying to just be a good listener and
Hmm.
take what everyone's telling me my heart is very open right now, and everything that everyone's telling me is just going straight in, and I'm really, it's just sort of, it's something that's become, that I've involved myself in. I'm not like taking a back seat and like, oh, people are, other people are handling this, it's fine. It's like, nope, I want to be a part of, I want to be doing the right thing. And this feels like listening to you talk, listening to all of these beautiful people come on here and just talk about their own personal human experience is the best thing that I could possibly do, and just listen. And so I'm just happy to listen.
All right. All right. Okay, I'll work with that. I'll work with that. Even with the listening, I will pop quiz you. So sometimes you'll still talk. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'll still talk. I'll still talk.
All right. No, that's great. And I've seen that, by the way. In the lives I was able to catch up on, yeah, I can really see that you really were being patient with yourself even, and just refraining from saying something, or trying to, give some kind of tip or advice. You really don't do that, and you really did listen. And it's always beautiful to see that. Like I'm big on observing, and really taking people in too. So it was great to see that, by the way. So all right, so let's see. So in terms of in terms of the founders, right? So for those of you that have done it so far, Opal Tometi, Alicia Garza, and Patrisse Cullors are the three main founders of Black Lives Matter. It started when Trayvon Martin got murdered, by George Zimmerman, and it was such a movement that I think almost as soon as it started, actually, and this happens a lot. This happens a lot with movements to promote any kind of sense of I'd say black independence, black unity, black even the concept of black is beautiful. To say black is beautiful, sometimes people take that offensively, as if their race or their color is not beautiful, right?
Right.
These kind of things, in the same way that feminism started, and then a lot of men were like, what about men? And wait, it's like, wait, what? Like one of those moments where if you're making a protest to a protest, then there's something wrong. There's something just inherently being missed there, right? And I think to get to a place where you remember the history of how All Lives Matter started, it was started mainly by conservative people on the news that had an agenda. And to get to that place where you really take into account of that. And again, much love to my conservative brothers and sisters out there. Um, this is not a thing to try to divide people. Again, I'm just being really factual with it, right? And even in a lot of the protests that are happening now that involve All Lives Matter, a lot of them support Trump, or a lot of them are right wing, or a lot of them hold the same similar values, basically, as a conservative person, right? And I think to get to a place again where we remember the history of that, it's such a powerful thing if you think you're siding with people that were actually against people standing up against police brutality and just wanting to live. You know what I mean? If you're on the side of that, it's almost like, again, to go big with extreme examples, Nazi Germany, and they're like, hey, we believe in the Aryan race being the best race, and they said something beautiful like, everyone matters, everyone matters, right? And they said something like that, and they were all saying it because technically it's true, but then at the same time they're killing as many people as they're killing, right, and doing all the atrocities they're doing. We should have a moment where we reflect on, okay, All Lives Matter, where's their website, right? Where are their protests? What are they fighting for?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know where that's at, right? To see the groups that I found on Facebook even that says All Lives Matter, it's like, I don't see what you're doing. I don't see the volunteering. I don't see the community outreach. I don't see it. So again, I really want people to reflect on this and question this for themselves instead of even trusting me to tell you what to think or what to do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
That's
How
such a
you
good
doing?
point. That's such a good point. It's like this was a concept that was created to kind of almost combat Black Lives Matter. It was like, well, they're not the only ones that matter. It's like, yeah,
Right.
no shit.
Right.
You don't need to make a fucking Facebook group to complain about it. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it goes with the
Man, yeah.
concept. I really love the analogy. I don't know who created this, so I can't give the credit, but about, Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter, comparing it to your house being on fire. Have you heard this analogy?
Oh my God, I have a better one. Can I share a better one instead?
I would
So
love.
I found two. Here's the thing, even with these analogies, I'm trying to find the ones that reach the most people on that side, right?
Yeah.
So the best two that I've come up with, and again, these are more emotional arguments because factually speaking, they're wrong. They're just wrong on what the intention of Black Lives Matter is and what they perceive it to be. It's just a technical factual error, right? So to emotionally try to engage them, I've noticed that the best one that worked on someone that I know actually, that I've known for 6 years, maybe even more. They said, "Wow," they were like, I didn't get it until your friend even. I was talking with a friend. I didn't get it until you said this example, right? And there's a pastor online right now that's really big right now. This video went viral quickly that he said, when Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor," no one was like, "What about the rich, Jesus? How come you're not blessing the rich people?" Right? Because his theme, his message was to help the poor and the just forgotten and the disheveled and the people that were so just outcasted from society, that he was giving them hope and love and all these kind of healings, right? All these kind of lessons in life. And to get to that place where the other example that I have not used publicly yet, this is the first time I've used it in such a platform like yours. And I'm going to make a poem using it as well. I definitely want to make a poem somehow incorporating it. Is that when a president, right? When Trump, when Obama, when any president you ever admired says, "God bless America," no one, nobody says, what about Thailand? What about Vietnam? How come you don't say God bless all countries, right? And to get to that place of reflecting on that and seeing the hypocritical thinking in that, right? I'm not going to call someone a hypocrite or a racist. I'm going to say, hey, doesn't that kind of conflict with what you're saying? If you really believe that, it doesn't make sense, right? And to really look into their eyes and really have this kind of conversation with people and really help them think about it. Because then, you know what I get after that, Lily? You know what I get after that? What about black crime, on the black on black crime? Have you had this talk yet with someone with the black on black crime stuff? Okay, I tried to find the things that maybe just hasn't been hitting yet. That hasn't been hit yet in terms of topics, right? So when people say black on black crime, okay, that's the toughest one for me emotionally to get through and still like focus, on the topic. Because it's such a distraction, like deflecting topic. It's such a thing that is used to almost insult black people without knowing it. Some of them don't mean to. Some of them have been told that's what you say back. That's an argument back to Black Lives Matter. That's just what you say. And I get it. I get it to a point. So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, really big influencer. She really was on the side of all lives matter in the sense that she wasn't trying to take either side. So she was using very ambiguous language. People were giving her crap about it. I reached out to her. I really cared about her well-being because one, I knew her to be a good person. Two, her influence. I'm also picking my battles. So if someone has a lot of influencers, those are the people I really want to make sure get the message and get it, and they know how to like talk about it, right? Just time and sanity, right? It's saving for me. So with this person, we got to this place where when she brought that up, I did my absolute best to keep her on focus, to keep her on topic, because I said, hey, by the way, Black Lives Matter, it's specifically talking about police brutality towards black people, and it's specifically talking about ending systemic racism in our country, judicially, prison-wise, mass incarceration system, and law enforcement, right? That's like the specific mission statement goals that you can see on the website, huh? All right?
Sure.
And to get to a place where, okay, yeah, black on black crime, okay, what's your point again? What about the numbers? What about us killing each other? Okay, so you're saying I should hold a police servant who's sworn to protect and serve and obey the laws and do everything right to other people that are committing crimes in a city that I'm not even living in, like Chicago. They bring up like, what about black on black crime in Chicago? And I'm like, okay, it's the equivalent for that has been if I was laying on the beach, Lily, and then a lifeguard comes over and starts just beating me to death, right? Just beating me up. And then someone comes over to me and I'm like, hey, can you help me out? I just got beat up by this lifeguard. And I just need some help. Like, can you help me like find out who the lifeguard was? I don't know what's going on. And then that person says to me, you know, what about all the people getting hurt on Venice Beach? What about all those people? What about the people getting hurt in Chicago? And I'm like, wait, no, I just got beat up by a lifeguard. Like, what? What are you saying? Like, to get to a place where you can see almost the insanity in that argument, it's really helpful. It's given me a lot of patience. You know what I mean?
I've never heard
Yeah.
anyone use black on black crime as a justification for all lives matter.
Thank goodness.
I've never
Oh,
heard
bless your
that.
heart.
I mean,
Bless your heart.
that's crazy.
It is. It literally is. And the
Like
thing
it's just
is,
so
I
unrelated.
completely unrelated. Completely unrelated. And here's the thing: when they say that, a part of me, like, I love people so much. I love people so much, Lily, that I'll still answer it. I'll still answer it for them. I'm like, actually, there was an entire summit with some of the greatest thinkers of the world that came to Chicago, and they had a whole summit about solutions and making more organizations over there to prevent crime. There's like intervention task force over there where the people are going into neighborhoods that have crime in them, that have gang violence even sometimes, and they're just going there without any weapons to try to just solve issues and just try to help people and make treaties and pacts with people.
Wonderful.
And that's freaking beautiful. Like when you
Yeah.
look up, every time someone asks me that, I'd update myself and I'd look it up. I'm like, oh, okay, yep, that's right. That's being helped out. A lot of people care about that. That's cool. All right. So can we get back to this? Can we get back to police brutality? Can we get back? That's cool. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so glad you really haven't heard that argument. It's such a painful argument. And it probably wouldn't happen to you because of your skin color, because
Yeah,
you're
of
passing as
course.
white, right?
Of course. Yeah.
That makes sense. Wow. Wow, I feel even more racistly attacked now that I didn't even know.
I mean,
Didn't even
yeah,
know.
it's like that no one ever tried to tell that to me because why would they? I'm a white
Why
person.
would you?
Yeah, why would they? They're not trying to make me feel bad about something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can we have a moment right now? Because that
Yeah,
was a
have
moment.
a moment. Just have a moment.
Is that a shite? Wow.
Yeah, I'd never heard that that was a justification. I feel like I've had friends
Mm.
who have told me, like, look, like my family member is saying all lives matter, like, and, their justification is everyone's life matters. It's like, that's what their justification is. Like, just these white people telling other white people, we matter too. And it's almost like, I don't know. I guess they don't feel the need to come up with like okay, what about, you know, black on black brutality or whatever you said. Like that doesn't even need to be said. I don't know. Yeah, that's yeah.
Right? Right? Yeah, you just had a moment. I love watching moments. Oh, they're so good. Oh, that's what I got into
Had a lot
acting
of
for too.
those.
Like,
A lot of those lately.
so great. So yeah, even in the sense of I'd say, let me make sure. Yeah, how are we doing on time? Actually, you got the time on yours, right?
I'm good.
Okay, because my gosh, there's so much more.
We
Okay,
can always have I would love to have you back.
already? What? I'm
Yeah.
honored, pleasure.
No,
Okay,
I would
I think this was a
obviously
one-time thing, and
there's so
oh, go
many
ahead.
discussions to be had. There's so much to say, and I think the way that you put things is really beautiful. And I mean, a lot of people are watching. I feel like a lot of times when I do these lives, like the numbers dwindle, whatever. But
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're very engaging, and I think
totally.
that
Yeah.
people are really interested in what you have to say, and I really appreciate what you have to say. You have a very strong voice, and I'm we just had a moment together, if you recall. And so, Yeah, let's have more of those.
Many more moments. Yeah, you know what? Okay, so that was well, thank you for that, first of all. It's always nice to be seen, to be acknowledged.
Of course.
Um, to get to that place also, I think I'd say yeah, I still definitely have three more things actually on my head. Is the power of humor. Like in those conversations you were saying, with family and friends and people that are having a tough time with this, I highly recommend humor, right? To get to a place where I've realized that, well, I didn't even know how much I did it sometimes until someone pointed it out to me. And they were like, gosh, you made talking about genocide kind of fun. And I was like, wait, what? What? Okay. You're welcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to have these kind of conversations and then not be so emotionally close at the time to kind of make sure we have those emotional buffers before we go into stuff like this. Like I made sure to put on my best music before I did this. I took a shower. I was like, whoo, let me just like take a breather from everything I'm like thinking about and doing and just get back to a really good place. And that refueling, that recharging your mind and heart, it's very underrated. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to get to a place where I know if I'm about to go into, I think there was a 2 hour interview I did. And I was like, all right, I just gotta be ready for everything. I gotta be ready for anything. Okay. 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 Unique New York, unique New York. What I got. Okay. Okay. And just getting into that place where I'm open, I'm ready, I'm available, I'm accessible. I keep my focus on the purpose of saving these lives, of making sure people get it. You know what I mean? Of understanding. When I focus more about understanding than being right, that's big. That's a big thing for me. When I found out that kind of truth in things, that kind of universality, um, that's like one of those world peace, inner peace kind of ideas that I really love sharing with people to use. Is that when you see someone arguing so viciously, and then you realize you're starting to feel that same urge to rage or to fight back or defend yourself, right?
Yeah.
I've noticed that's a time where I've associated my identity with being right, and it's that's not me. That I don't have to be right to still exist in this world. I love being wrong. Like to love being wrong, if we focused on that, all the times you were proven wrong, Lily, and you were like, wow, I'm so glad I know this now. I'm so glad I know better. It was the same thing when I found out about milk not even really helping your bones. Like when I found out milk
Milk does.
doesn't really help your bones, it actually causes osteoporosis. That was a whoa, whoa, like whoa, Lily. Let me tell you, that was something I was like, oh, that might hurt my cereal intake for a few weeks, but I'm gonna be okay. But I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah.
So to get to a place where we kind of just find that humility and we slow ourselves down. I really practice in slowing my breath down because I get excited too. As you can tell, I get a little excited.
Sure.
I have asthma, so my breathing tends to go really fast, and then I have to like slow down. And then I really look at the person. I remember like this is someone I love. If they're a friend or an associate, I say this is someone I really enjoy their impact of what they're doing or something good about them that I can just zero in on. You know what I mean? If it's a family member for y'all, I saw some videos where people are yelling and screaming with family members online, trying to convince them of what the plight is of the black people and all that stuff. And it was like really gut wrenching to watch, but it was great to see that kind of energy in it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if the other person isn't taking in what you're saying, that's a perfect time to slow down and adjust the way you're communicating to adapt to their communication, right? And I think that's another understatement with comedy as well as adapting to someone else's communication. It doesn't mean you have to change who you are. A lot of people hear that. They're like, I don't want to change how I talk and who I am to talk to this person. And it's like, but if you talk to your grandmother differently than you talk to your niece, are you the same person?
Yep.
But you're just talking differently to them, right? You don't use as many hip words maybe with your grandma. She doesn't know all the slang, right? I get it. I get it. So once you really bridge those gaps of understanding, it's a lot easier to kind of use examples for them that work. And I think we're almost at that place. I think we're almost at the place where like more people are seeing how to I think the best idea for this that I've been able to say it perfectly in my own way, but the best quote that sums this up is John Trudell's quote. He's a indigenous actor and activist for all the just indigenous people. He's such a badass guy. I highly recommend him, by the way. Um, he said this beautiful thing about you don't you're not supposed to fight the oppressor with hatred of the oppressor, but you can fight them back with love of your people, with love of your cause, right? And that was another big shift in for me as a humanist, as an activist. I don't usually call myself activist, so I don't scare people away that are afraid of
Sure.
the word activism. Some people, again, that's something I found out. People will read activists and they're like, oh, they probably care about the gays, and I'm like, wait, what? Okay, is that bad? Like, what? You need to
Maybe
talk
I
like,
think
and
it just has maybe an intense connotation with it, like someone who's like screaming
exactly.
all the time, and it's like, nope, that's not. Maybe that's what the news wants you to think.
Yeah, you
Crazy
know what?
activists.
The activist. You said that really funny. Um, yeah, you know what? Between the media and then I'd say even word of mouth sometimes, I've noticed when you when you think of activists, some people think of the people out in front of your Trader Joe's or places where they're like, "Can you sign this petition for Greenpeace? Can you sign this petition?" And it's just like I just came for some guac, okay? Just leave me alone. I
Yeah,
just want to go. So I get it. Some people get annoyed in that way too.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I kind of make myself giggle sometimes. It's
That's
uh, it's
great.
it's a
I'm
side effect.
glad you do.
And yeah, and also just the humor aspect. Going back to humor as a tool, right? To talk about this is that it also helps you. You know, it also helps the person talking about it. And if there's certain things that like Dave Chappelle has been great at it, and there's Michael Che is also a great comedian that talked about Black Lives Matter in one of my favorite ways I've ever seen it done. And I would like to I'm going to submit this rendition of Michael Che Matters, his monologue in this comedy piece. He was like, Black Lives Matter, like that's controversial. Black Lives Matter, just matters, not matters more, not matters less, matters. Matters. And then people start cracking up at this point, right? They're just like, they're getting it. They're laughing hard, right? And he's like, it's like, and I'm skipping around a little bit. He says, we're not even asking for like equal rights. We're just asking for civil rights, just to be civil with each other, like civil. Just, like turn off the hose. Just turn off the hose. Let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And to get to a place where he reminded me that there were people that would sick dogs on us and put hoses on the black community because they were peacefully protesting and marching.
Yeah.
It's so humbling. It's so humbling to remember where we've been and where we're at now, right? And when people say this is like the largest riots and this is the biggest thing to happen in America, blah, 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 those people haven't studied their history. And I get really concerned about that, you know? And I think also I'll jump a little bit away from the humor aspect, but to jump to the largest race riots ever. Have you ever heard about what the largest race riot is? Pop quiz.
No.
No? What's the biggest one that you know of, maybe, in your time, in your history of living?
In my time
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
alive,
Of your time of actually existing on the planet ever since you popped out your mom's womb.
I
Yes.
mean, right now, because this is the first time that I've been consciously aware and in tune to what's happening. So for me, this is the biggest, movement when it comes to race in my lifetime because I think I haven't fully grasped it until now.
Okay.
That's why it has
Okay.
the biggest impact on me now. That's why it's the biggest to me now. Like I was born in 96, so that's that span. From then till now, it's like this feels like the biggest movement in my lifetime, but maybe that's just because my eyes
Wow.
are off it for the first.
96. Look at you. What? Oh my God. I feel like now you're like my little sister. This is so cute.
Aww,
This is so cute. I know I look young, but I'm 37. I was born in 83. So,
wow, you look very young.
yeah. Why, thank you. I tell you, ever since I stopped eating meat and I just exfoliate, just exfoliation does wonders. But
Glad.
no, I was gonna say that the biggest, like, the riots that I've experienced in my lifetime, that I saw was in 2017, when Trayvon got murdered. Actually, is when I remember there were a big group of riots that happened, and then in 90, I think it was 92, before you were a twinkle in your mother's eye. I mean, I don't want to talk like that. Actually, I don't. Slap me if I ever become that kind of old person that talks like that. Okay, I don't want to
I'll,
talk like that.
I'll let you know.
Um, Please. I know you would too, by the way. You're so blunt and you can just be like, boom. I've
Thank
noticed that about you.
Yeah,
Look at you, you take it as a compliment. You're like, yeah, I'm blunt.
I
What's
am.
up?
I do take it as a compliment. I wear it as I'm like, I'm blunt. That's my thing. All my friends know me as being the blunt one. They're like, you'll tell it to me straight. I'm like, you're right.
Right. That's interesting. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Okay, I want to talk about that more too, by the way. Okay, yeah, definitely a beautiful thing to have, by the way, to be blunt right now in this day and age, for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think the earliest riots I remember when I was a kid, I think they were either 92, 93. I want to say it was 92, is when Rodney King was beat by cops. He was pulled over, I think he might have been drunk, or it was like maybe he was drunk driving or something. I don't remember exactly what he was pulled out over for. But the issue, of course, was this was when cameras were like you had to hold them on here, or
Right.
they were just newly made handheld cameras that were like this big,
Hmm.
and someone videotaped from across the street when he was outside of his car, and there must have been at least 8 to 10 cops all around him, beating him, beating him, beating him. They were taking turns. They were taking turns. Again, he was posing no threat. Of course, he didn't have a weapon. I feel like I have to say that, even though it seems so obvious. And to get to a place where even then, we still had to convince people that that was real, that that happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the black community especially, we've known for years, for decades, ever since how much cops have pulled us over for no reason, frisk us for illegally. And there's plenty of resources out there to get the numbers on it. I think in New York there was over 100,000 stop and frisks, and I think like a high majority of them were illegal or without cause. All this stuff is proven. You can look it up, and to get to a place where I knew for a fact, I saw that video, I was like, that's real, that happened. And even in the black community, sometimes you would still question it. You're like, dang, really? Like that really, man. Nah, maybe there was something else we missed. Maybe there was, dang, and you kind of just have to take it in. It's almost like, the PTSD or denial that happens in the black community, where it's so amazing to see that. And to get to a place where I think he even suffered brain damage, and I think he was beaten so badly that he won a great court case. He got a lot of money from it, right? But then eventually, years later, he ends up committing suicide.
Wow.
And I think that's a kind of story to remind people of, where the effects of living in such a community, in such a society, not even community, a society, where we uphold cops to such an untouchable level
Yeah.
of they can do no wrong. Same thing with military, same thing with patriotism, right? This idea of patriotism. And I've had family and of course friends of mine that serve in both the LAPD and in the military before, right? My dad's a veteran, and the thing is, to get to a place where I know I have to say that so that I can speak on the topic a little bit longer, so people can listen a little bit longer. these are all things that I have to be aware of now in having a talk like this, right? And to get to a place where then I could put that kind of information in someone's lap and let them struggle with it and know that for every cop that they say, I don't know if you've had this conversation, but every cop that they say, there's a couple bad apples. That phrase is so damaging,
Yeah.
right? You had that talk before with the bad apple talk?
No, I've heard of it, but I've not
Okay.
had a discussion.
Yeah. So this is a pretty big one to talk about for sure. Wanted to bring this up. Um, so the cops that were beating Rodney King, right? There were three or four mainly that were beating him. Maybe there was, I think I remember three or four in the video, and the video's up online, YouTube, for people that really need to see it to grasp it, right?
Sure.
Um, there were still cops on the outskirts just watching. They're just watching, right? So again, this isn't like a brawl that breaks out between your friends. This isn't something where you feel like you could, you know, like you have the power that, I'm scared to step in or something like that. No, these are all cops. Any one of them could have stopped those cops from doing it,
Yeah.
but they didn't. They didn't. And we see it during these riots, during these protests that are happening, that even during a riot, I will talk about riots too, because some of those are so instigated by police and started up by a few, they're called agent provocateurs, that initially they know they're meant, they love instigating violence and instigating violence, just violence, violence, violence. They love violence, and they think it's anti-fascist to start violence and kind of break rules and this whole like anarchy idea. Some of them believe to an extreme level that it's hurting the movement, and a lot of people, thankfully, have separated the protesters from the rioters, from the looters, right?
Yeah.
But to bring it back to the topic of the bad apples, when we constantly see so many cops that are doing something illegal and hurting people with tear gas, which by the way, fun fact, tear gas is illegal to use in war, but we can use it on our own citizens.
Wow.
Fun, did you know that? Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's really shocking to know how often that we're allowing this kind of stuff to go on, that we're allowing the bad apple cops to do something so bad, but there's an entire department
Yeah.
that is supporting them and not reprimanding them, not, even the disciplines they give that I've read about are very slap on the knee, or like, don't do that again. Or it's like the repercussions, like we just don't believe in them anymore. All the diversity training and things like that, it's past the point of believing that can fix an entire system that allows something like this to go on, right? And even when I learned about police qualified immunity or something like that, or I forgot the name for it, but learning about these things, even because again, I'm learning about this as much as many people
Right.
are.
Sure.
And since I know the weight that my color is carrying in these conversations, it's another burden on, and it's half burden, half standard now, that a lot of black people and people of color in general, I think, feel that we have to be exceptional
Mm,
to just even have a normal conversation with people. That
sure.
we have to be exceptional and do amazing things, whether it's in sports, whether it's in politics, whether it's in this, to just be considered on the level, okay.
Yep.
Because we know as soon as we mess up on something, there's so many white people, specifically white people I'm talking about, that are so good at making stereotypes and prejudices in their mind that they get to a place where they think all black people do that thing, right? A black person wears a hoodie, they might be a criminal, right? And there's that idea out there. And then when a white person wears a hoodie, wow, they're just a little cold. They're just a little nippy. You know what I mean? And so seeing that kind of I think that kind of dynamic where I want to also present that even the police force themselves, and again, I love cops. I'm going to say this again. Thank you, officers, for the great service you do, that you do justly, that when you do that properly, thank you for that. Because then I've seen the statistics and I've looked this stuff up. It's so amazing to just find things that exist in the world that are floating out there. There are so many surveys that are taken by cops saying that they don't feel equipped or trained enough to do their job. Cops have admitted that. There's large percentage. It was, I think, around 30 to maybe 40% or 45% of this one survey I saw. And it's stuff like that where when the cops can admit it themselves. And then I've watched so many cop videos because I look for the people that can speak out on such a topic and not suffer these repercussions that I would. So I'll sometimes use cops that have spoken out saying, hey, there was this article I read, and this will be the last thing I talk about with cops because I think we're getting to a good place of understanding on it. This one cop spoke out. He said there was his partner was asking him, what do we want to book this guy for, right? And he was just really upset with this like young kid that was just like, I think he was just mouthing off, or he was like upset about being stopped or something like that. And he was like, what are we gonna book him for, right? And the guy was like nothing. Like, why don't we just let him go? Like, what are you doing? And then things escalated, or I think maybe a fight broke out between the cop and the guy, and they filed fake charges or something like that. But it gets to the point, the main part of it that I remember specifically was that when this cop actually told the truth in his report and filed out the truth and wrote the truth down of this cop was just saying these things, he just wanted to instigate with this young man, that the chief said, look, hey, I need you to really understand how we do things here. Like, that's, you don't do that. You don't say that about another officer. And then furthermore, he got reassigned to something else, and then it kept getting harder for him to even keep his job as a cop. And now, like, to see all the amount of cops that are speaking out and saying how much they've been told to racially profile, and they admit it. There's racist emails out there. If you look up any news stories, there's cops that are spreading racist emails, racist text messages. They do so many things as a group. And I made even a YouTube playlist that helps with the perspective and understanding of this, so I could just give that to my friends that feel confused about it, right? Yeah, anyone that needs to look that up, I got the resources for you for sure. To get to a place where we have to even use cops to convince the audience at large that a lot of the cops are bad,
Yeah.
is, again, it's this, right? It's this insane world that we're living in where we're trying to convince mainly white people. Again, sorry to say this to my white brothers and sisters out there. I love y'all. Again, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. To get to the place where we know the responsibility is on them. The actual true burden of this is on them, right? It's never been because of the color of our skin. That's never been the reason. It's because someone else feels that they are better than us. It's because someone else felt that they were justified in hanging us. And that's a way to solve their problem with us, right? To get to a place where I love that. I think his name was Monaco, right? How do you say his name?
Oh, well, it was
Monaco?
Emmanuel. Emmanuel. That's his name.
Emmanuel.
His
Yeah,
screen name was the Man Nacho or something like that.
yeah. I felt like he's a superhero. I was like, okay, man, that's a good
Emmanuel.
nick.
Yeah, yeah.
So Manuel, when he brought up Emmett Till with you, and those, again, anyone who doesn't know Emmett Till should know this, because that was technically like one of the first cases of police brutality caught, not police brutality, but it was like white brutality caught on image, basically,
Yeah.
right? One of the earliest times. When the white woman came out and said that she had lied about it, when that happened, like we always knew it was true, right? We always knew that was like that she was lying. Because any black person at the time knew they shouldn't whistle at a white woman at that time. We can't drink in the same color fountain as you. We're not gonna whistle at a white woman. Like, so many of us knew that. So for her to come clean with that was like the epitome of white guilt for me. That was like the epitome. That was like the ultimate moment where I was like, I hope every white person on the planet right now has their pen and pad out. Because on her deathbed, before she died or whenever she said it, she wanted to get this off her chest. And that's why I know racism is not about skin color. It's about pain that people have suffered in their life that they're taking out on someone else. that's when I saw that a friend of mine had said he's been racist. He's been racist before, and he's still a little racist now. He admitted.
Sure.
He said, I know that I was, or someone in his family, someone, maybe him himself, was robbed by black people.
Mm.
And I let him know. I said, hey man, hey, would it make sense if the times that I got robbed by someone white, or the times that I see serial killers that are white, all
Yeah.
these Netflix specials that have white people glorified for killing people,
Mm.
all the white people that have shot up black churches or schools, all those white people. That means, is it okay for me to be racist against all white people and hate and think that I'm better than them, right? And it's that kind of reflection that I think again is so important to have. You know,
Agree.
thoughts, feelings, comments, considerations. By all means, I'm gonna refuel again.
No, I think
Yeah,
that's so true. I think in a grander scheme, that kind of just goes along with the phrase hurt people."
yeah, yeah.
It's just like
Right.
you're not just evil for some reason. You're not just racist because of someone's. It's not the color of your skin. It's
Yeah, yeah.
so much deeper than that. It's like taught and it's ingrained and it's like force fed into your mouth sometimes to believe and to think this way. Um,
Right.
but that's so true and so beautifully put. But I would really love to, because I know there's so much more to say, and
Of course.
I would love for us to be able to keep talking without like feeling like rushed. Like I would love to have you on again so we can kind of continue the discussion and have it be an ongoing discussion rather than let's try to fit everything in one thing.
Yeah. Deal. Deal.
You're okay with
That.
that?
You know what? I do that sometimes with my poetry, and I totally want to talk about poetry with you sometime too. But I do that sometimes with my poetry, where we try to fit in everything in the world into one poem sometimes, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. There's no way I could fit everything into this one
No,
poem. So
no.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm really happy you said that, and of course I'd be happy
No,
to.
I love because
Um,
I love everything you have to say, and I really don't want to have to compartmentalize anything. Like this
of course,
conversation should just be on its own, and I would love to have another conversation with you. I think you're
not a
really.
problem. Thanks, you. Yeah. Do you have to get going, or how much time do we even have on this thing?
I do. I have something, but
Ooh, look at you. Oh, and one more thing. My mom was so sweet. She fact checked for me one thing that I said because I wasn't sure. But Rodney King actually died of accidental drowning, not suicide. One of the cops in that scenario, one of the cops in that committed suicide.
oh,
So that I thought was really interesting. Yeah, my apologies again. And again, I love being wrong. I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't spread that false information. And
sure.
I'm not afraid to like take that back and say, oh, I could have done that better. So yes, one of the cops committed suicide. That was like that's a trip to me. You know what I mean? Like thank you. Like I'm so thankful that in terms of listening, we even get to have the opportunity to be wrong, right? To find out what we're even talking about and even share these resources. So again, much love to you and your fans also, because a lot of your fans already started following me and we didn't even talk yet. So much love and respect to all of you guys out
Yeah,
there.
they're very
Yeah,
supportive.
super supportive.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll let you get
Yeah.
going to your thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I would really, we could talk, but obviously, but I would love to have
Oh,
you again because there's plenty more to say, and I would love to do, hear some of your poetry as well. Would
I
really,
was gonna say the same thing. If we had like a mini open mic moment and just shared poetry back and forth, would you be open to that too?
I'd be open to that.
And do you usually share your poetry publicly or what? How are you feeling with that?
I'm publishing a book that comes out in September,
Right.
um, but I don't usually like read my poetry out loud to people. Uh, but I'm open to it. I would share a couple things.
Oh my gosh. I'm so like you don't even know. It's like I live really happily vicariously sometimes through people and
Yeah.
to see you sharing your poetry publicly. And I like it's special for me to just witness that. You know, every time I've seen either a teenager share their poem for the first time, or I'm visiting schools and like helping people write their poems, and then for you, like, oh my god, everyone's gonna be like, Lily, oh my god, you do poetry? I'm gonna write poetry now too, and it's gonna be so adorbs. You're gonna inspire like so many more people to write poetry, and just ecstatic about that. You know what I mean? It's really healing, creative, right? It's everything in one thing. And I've been doing my best to make sure poetry is known as like a cool thing now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
that's really wonderful. No, I would love to do a open mic night.
Ah! Your face. Your face was ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Open mic night.
No, I would love to. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
We'll set a date, but to do that. But
Oh, no
again,
problem.
I really loved our conversation. I'm gonna share the hell out of it. I hope people I know people will take something away from everything you had to say. So thank you again and we'll
Of
talk
course.
again. Okay.
Not a problem. Namaste to you. I love cops and every side of whatever people are on. I love y'all still. Remember that. Okay.
See
Bye. Bye, Lily.
you
So
later.
great.
Talk to you
Come on.
soon.
You're great. Oh,
Bye.
you're so great.